them, we win. The reason that Al-Qaeda has not been defeated is because you have the Brotherhood, who is essentially the feeding organization. They're the ones who are behind the scenes helping fund Al-Qaeda, all along pretending to be a quote-unquote moderate organization. An organization, by the way, that is closely aligned to an organization called CARE, right here in the United States. The Holy Land Foundation was who were members of the Holy Land Foundation were convicted because of their links to the Brotherhood. The same Holy Land Foundation had members of CARE who were unindicted co-conspirators. So right there is all you need to know is that the fact.
Well, let me expand on that.
Yeah.
The monster growing the Al-Qaeda and ISIS heads is the Muslim Brotherhood, Saudi Arabia, and others. And so every time you cut a head off, 5 more grow back.
Correct.
And then now, why would President Obama and NATO, because I know there's an internal fight going on, and it really made the military mad here in the U.S. That's why we got so much intel on what really happened from you and others. Bottom line, how did they think they'd get away with giving 15,000 MPADs to Al-Qaeda and to other jihadis? How did they think when they're running around, Reuters is now reporting, and so is the Washington Post, that yes, they have U.S. M16s, yes, they have U.S. anti-tank weapons, yes, they have U.S. anti-aircraft weapons, and they're trying to claim, oh, they got them from the other Syrian rebels. Who is guilty for this in Washington? I know that's a dangerous thing to talk about, but I know that's what you are discussing behind closed doors. Who's to blame?
Well, the administration, this is bad policy. This is a combination of the National Security Council under Susan Rice. Alex is the equivalent of 8-year-olds running around in Brooks Brothers outfits.
I'm sorry.
Seriously. They have no clue. And then you have a radical ideology that, gee, maybe the United States ought to be taken down a few notches, and maybe if we just treat people better, they'll understand us. Maybe if we talk to them nicer and show that we understand, that they'll be nicer to us. That is the thinking here, believe it or not. And what that translates into is hugely bad policy. You cannot believe, Alex, some of the nonsense I hear that comes out of the National Security Council.
Well, when I see Susan Rice speak, I'm no military person, but I study military news every day. They talk like buffoons. A private in the Army would know more than these women do. I mean, and they're in charge of all this. Sorry.
Well, correct. Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with, Alex, is that we don't have any adults in the room actually doing anything. And as much as I'd like to believe that they're going to figure out a policy going forward, I have no confidence tonight that this policy that President Obama is going to announce will actually do anything to deal with the Islamic State or ISIS, whatever you want to call it, in any substantial way. Because, Alex, fundamentally, they've been supporting the very underpinnings of the whole network. It's not simply about ISIS. It's about Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. It's about Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. It's about Ansar al-Sharia. It's a network, Alex, that's sprung up from the fact that we never got to the root cause of this, which is the Muslim Brotherhood.
I just don't see how a president is going to get up on television and claim he's going to run some airstrikes against ISIS and then arm the other Syrian rebels who've been fighting side by side with them to then displace ISIS. I mean, from the perspective of Assad, he can't trust what Obama's saying. What happens if Assad starts shooting surface-to-air missiles at the U.S. aircraft that go in there for these strikes?
Well, that's going to be an interesting dilemma because backing up Assad is both Hezbollah, which is essentially the other terrorist organization run by Iran, and our friend Vladimir Putin. And Alex, I don't know how closely you follow my Facebook postings. I know we're friends on there, but one of the things I've predicted is that if we don't act, you will see essentially a form of the Warsaw Pact establish itself in the Middle East, and you will see Su-25 Frogfoots, which is the equivalent of the A-10s, rolling in on combat missions in this area to defeat ISIS. So if we don't do it, you will see, once Putin's done with the Ukraine, and I don't want to get into that right now, but that's a whole other bag of worms. He's distracted right now. Putin is with Ukraine. Once that's done, I would predict that you'll see Putin actually using military force via Iran to back up Hezbollah and back up his ally Assad if we choose not to do anything against ISIS. Well,
could you blame, and I'm not, again, saying Russia's an angel, could you blame Russia because Al-Qaeda and ISIS is saying they're going to attack Russia next?
No. And people who understand the 80s will reflect on the fact that while we were getting our behinds kicked in Beirut, once the Russians had some of their folks kidnapped by Hezbollah, and the Russians who basically went back in and killed everybody and killed their families and said, "You never touch us again, or else we will do the same tactics to you do to us." And that stopped the Russian issue. The Hezbollah never touched the Russians after that again. Now they're essentially a form of ally. So no, we have to understand, Alex, that even if we defeat ISIS, someone's going to defeat ISIS. There's going to be a power vacuum, and then that vacuum becomes the issue we have to look at: is what do we fill it with? And I've argued, and I met with again Yazidi Christians today who were talking about their plight. It's like they all believe that as much as ISIS is bad, the better of two evils is Assad, because Assad wasn't out beheading people. And I think as much as it may pain the president to have to go back against his policy,
sure,
we need to work with Assad on this, because otherwise we will see ISIS formulate its own nation, create safe havens, and I have no doubt that they already have at least reconnaissance folks here in the United States doing reconnaissance of targets for terrorist attacks.
I know you're not supposed to say, but from my sources, and I know you've got a lot higher level than I do, you're up there at the Capitol, that they have substantive groups here in the U.S., and that this could be a way to basically blackmail Obama, because Obama now knows if there's terror attacks, and Susan Rice and others helped create this current group, that they're going to get the blame for it. Couldn't we have high-level blackmail already going on? Oh,
I'm seeing, Alex, the same basic patterns I saw right before 9/11 regarding our work, and you mentioned Stratus Ivy and Able Danger. I am seeing the same neglect, the same wishful thinking at the policy level, where they may have stealth here, but they won't really do anything to hurt us. That is what I'm hearing, and I think you have to believe. I don't know this for a fact, but you have to believe that there may be something like that going on, because what president, what policy-making body would ever allow known adversaries to to walk freely within our border simply because they think that if we'll leave, if they leave us alone, we'll leave them alone. That was the naive thinking that resulted in the 9/11 attacks. And I'm telling you right now, it may not happen this 9/11, it may not happen the next 9/11, but we are literally allowing the conditions to be created, which are going to allow the next 9/11, which I would predict is going to be far more severe, far more catastrophic than the 9/11 attacks could have ever been.
Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer is our guest, folks, and you can go to londoncenter.org, one of the think tank policy groups he's involved with. His site's down today because a lot of traffic, but it'll be back up soon, OperationDarkHeart.com. And you've got a bunch of big Facebooks. What's the main Facebook for people to visit?
Well, right now, I think, you and I talked about this last time when it first came out, and you mentioned it in the opening, the last line. And you were correct, sir, in that I can talk a lot more about stuff that actually goes on through fiction than I can and through the nonfiction, which you may be interested in. Mark Zaid, my lawyer, and I are still fighting a First Amendment lawsuit against the government about the overarching redactions of information which was unclassified in the first book. But with that said, I would like people to kind of focus on the last line, because it deals with the idea of terrorist organizations using the southwest border to penetrate the United States. And so one of those things that, and I actually talked to Governor Rick Perry about this recently, he's trying everything he can, I believe, to try to secure the border. I think those of us who have studied this and recognize the vulnerability understand that the southwest border, as much as kids coming across are a tug at our heart, Alex, the issue is not the kids. It's about the fact that other nefarious folks, drug cartels, terrorist groups are going to use the southwest border to get their people in here.
Sure. I mean, when does your novel come out? It's now gone like 6-8 months ago?
It's out. It came out a year ago in hardcover, but now it's out in paperback. And
sure. But the point I'm getting at is, when I read the hardcover that came here, wow, time flies, a year ago before you came on, it was excellent. And I talked to you on air. I said, "This is real, isn't it?" You said, "Well, I can't say that or they'll stop me, but they won't let me publish the real book." But yeah, this is it. Since then, what about the optics of literally opening the southern border wide open, busing anybody across that wants to come across? I've been critical of Rick Perry on a lot of issues, but they've indicted him for holding back money from a drunk, crazy person while he is covertly trying to secure the border. I have to commend him and the state police. He's actually trying to secure the border, and he's been indicted. I mean, it's almost like the Democrats are secretly allied with al-Qaeda or something.
Well, this goes back to our conversation about the Brotherhood. Let me be very clear on this. The Muslim Brotherhood has penetrated every aspect of our governance, every aspect, Alex. They have influence in the media. They have influence on Capitol Hill. They have been able to go through in DOD, and basically the reason we can't call Islamic radicalism is because they have done this Orwellian thing. And I have a friend of mine who told me this, that the DOD was forced to remove all references to radical Islam because of Brotherhood influence over the FBI and DOD. This is not fiction. This is the way it is.
Well, that brings me to this point. I'm sure you saw the Fort Hood document came out last year. Fox News even picked it up where they said founding fathers wouldn't be welcome in today's Army when George Washington founded the Army. And then it went on, don't join evangelical groups of the Tea Party or you'll be disciplined. Since when can the Army say what you can do in your private life if it's legal and lawful? So Homeland Security says their main mission now is gun owners, veterans, conservatives, libertarians, and that radical Islam isn't even on the list. I mean, that is so crazy that they flipped Homeland Security completely on to the American people with the backdrop of the IRS now trying to shut down Breitbart and arresting Dinesh D'Souza.
Right, you're correct. And this has been their work behind the scenes. This has been a long-term, again, Alex, while we've been fighting Al-Qaeda in the battlefield and winning, these folks have been working behind the scenes to subvert all of the governance we hold dear. And again, I hope your audience understands, I'm not being overblown on this. Their influence is real. And again, this is why General al-Tawhimi and now President al-Sisi outlawed the Brotherhood in Egypt.
I know you're not supposed to get into this because you can get in trouble because of the commander-in-chief, but those same people were interviewed by WorldNet Daily and confirmed Obama's cousin Odinga, the prime minister down in Kenya, is making all this money and is reportedly sending hundreds of millions up there, financing it, and Obama is directly involved.
Well, I don't know that for a fact, but let me tell you this little tidbit, Alex, that I think your audience needs to understand. Just a few days before I met with al-Tawhimi, General al-Tawhimi, the chief of Egyptian intelligence, John Brennan was there. John Brennan, our director of CIA. So one of the things that General al-Tawhimi brought up to me is that he had brought up to John Brennan their issue with the Muslim Brotherhood. And al-Tawhimi, the chief of their intelligence, asked John Brennan directly, why don't you help us attack the Brotherhood? Why don't you outlaw the Brotherhood just like we're about to do? And by the way, they have done it. And so al-Tawhimi didn't really tell us what Brennan said, so I asked him, I said, with all due respect, General, what did John Brennan say to you when you said that, the Brotherhood's an enemy? What was his reply? He stiffened up, Alex, in his chair, looked at me sternly and said, John Brennan laughed in my face. Now think about that. Our director of CIA laughed at the chief of intelligence of Egypt because he was told that the Brotherhood is a threat. And that tells you...
Oh, the Brotherhood was blowing up churches, crucifying people, attacking military bases, trying to blow up the Suez Canal last year that forced the military to go after them. When they got power, they had a reign of terror in Egypt.
That's correct. And so but that tells you right there that John Brennan does not believe that the Brotherhood is a threat because he has been brainwashed by these so-called moderates who are really not.
Colonel Schaefer, we're out of time. I could do 5 minutes overdrive, but you probably got to go. Can you stay 5 more minutes after this 1-minute break?
I can, yes.
Okay, because I want to know about anything else on Benghazi, because, I mean, I saw top general on Fox News admitting, yeah, we armed al-Qaeda, it turned into ISIS. Yeah, Benghazi weapons got there. I saw Reuters admitting so much of what you talked about years ago. I want to see what you can tell us that isn't classified. And again, Colonel Schaefer is really important, folks, because he ran the entire Black Ops operation against al-Qaeda and was ordered to stand down. You have to understand, right before 9/11. We'll be right back. Stay with us in 60 seconds.
You are listening to GCN.
Oh, and by the way, his new book, you can find that on Amazon. LondonCenter.org is the website.
You've heard about the essential qualities of iodine when it comes to your well-being, and you've read the opinions of top experts regarding this good member of the halogen family. Still, reports indicate that iodine is absent in sufficient amounts from the daily lives of countless people worldwide. Now, our extra-strength new nascent iodine formula is here, Survival Shield X2, leading the way into the next generation of super high-quality nascent iodine. InfoWars Life Survival Shield X2 is derived from 200+ million-year-old salt solution solutions found more than 7,000 feet below the Earth's surface. The result is a unique nascent iodine that is both concentrated and free of unwanted additives, genetically modified ingredients, and completely vegan. We even pre-screen our Survival Shield X2 iodine for radiation. Pure, clean, and sourced from deep within the Earth, X2 nascent iodine is available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call 1-888-253-3139.